Hey, happy Friday. Welcome to Planet Earth. Mr. H here hanging out with you. How you guys doing today, huh? It's another glorious day in paradise. Yeah, I'm kind of being sarcastic. Well, it's April. What are you going to do? It's dark and raining and nobody's playing any football. Everybody's watching the draft. I'll worry about the draft later when they actually, draft somebody. Today's show is brought to you by the number one. Why am I shouting about the number one? Because, my friend, there is one Peloponnesian War, not two. All these academics lately have been shouting about two Peloponnesian Wars. Okay, let me explain something to you. There was one Peloponnesian War, not two. And why? And even their logic about two doesn't even make any sense. They're talking about a first, quote unquote, first Peloponnesian War from 465 BC to 440 BC. No, there's no continued war. They're just Greeks being Greeks. They fight each other to make peace to go to war again. Yeah, Athens and Sparta fought each other at the Battle of Tangria in 457 BC, and that was it. They don't go after each other again until 431 BC. Yeah, they also had a peace conference in 440 BC to try to establish rules for conflict and everything, but it wasn't the end of a war. They're trying to prevent one, and they didn't. 9 years later, they're back at it again. And the Peloponnesian War itself is kind of divided into two parts. So you would think they'd call that the first and second, but they didn't do that. The first part of the war we called Archidamian War, 431 to 421. We got a ceasefire. It's not a ceasefire because you got the Battle of Mantinea and the Sicilian expedition, then the whole naval war. We'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, one Peloponnesian War, and it started in 431 BC. Every time one of these wars happen, it never goes the way you think it's going to go. Spartan king Archidamus, the guy they named the first part of the war for, he told the Spartans when this thing started, this is going to be something that no one's ever been through before. And the same thing some people in Athens tell Pericles, who was the elected head of Athens at the time, this war will go ways no one suspects. No one expected a 27-year war. And this isn't the first time it happened. It's not the last time it happened. Our own Civil War, one big battle and it's over, right? Bull Run was just the start of the whole thing. First World War, it's going to be over by Christmas. 4 years of trench warfare there. Second World War, Hitler honestly did not think France and Britain was going to defend Poland. How does that thing end? 6 years later with the Russians going through the Reichstag and 2 atomic bombs over Japan. Even modern day, right? The Russians and Ukraine, this thing's still going on 2 years down the road. U.S. goes in Afghanistan. That lasts an entire generation. All right, Iraq, they're going to welcome us with dates and happy. And next thing you know, it's a guerrilla war for 8 years. It never goes the way you think it's going to go. No battle plan survives contact with the enemy. And the Athenians simply decide they're going to drop back behind the long walls of Athens, let the Spartans come to them. Siege warfare is not very advanced in Greece at this time, so the Spartans get tired and go home. Now, it's not going to work that way. And of course, the Spartans think one big battle in front of Athens, hoplite battle, and it's over, and it doesn't happen. We end up with Spartans staring up at the wall in anger at the Athenians. Are we going to starve them out? Not really. Spartans don't really have much of a navy, so they're just going to wait behind the walls, right? Well, the walls are still there, the long walls, at least part of them anyway. A lot of it got knocked down. Later on, some of it for reconstruction. But when you wait behind the walls, you got the entire population of Attica crammed in there, you're going to end up with diseases like the plague. 429 BC, we got smallpox. We think it is. We don't know. It's so bad, even Pericles got it and died. And the Spartans come up to do the siege, can't get in, go home, come back. They've been doing it for 3 years now. And 429, they cut that siege short, man, because even Spartans don't want to mess with diseases. So some kind of smallpox tore through Athens. So much for that strategy. It doesn't mean the Athenians coming up behind the wall to fight a hoplite battle. They do a few of those, but they have a navy. Sparta doesn't. Remember we talked about sea power versus land power earlier show way back when? Here's your problem. Spartans don't have a navy, so Athens just keeps landing along the edges here, and the Spartans, instead of attacking, have to go along the edges and try and stop them. So the effort gets pulled away from Athens. Athens won't beat them, but Sparta won't win either. This thing will go on forever. And then at one point they landed here at Peloponnesian. They trapped some Spartans, and the Spartans actually surrendered. How about that? That was a shock. Like you said, these wars start taking turns and twists and turns nobody expects is going to happen. Well, when they captured the Spartans at Specteria Pylos back in 421 BC, they had a ceasefire. And what's happening in a ceasefire? It's still a war, still going. It's just a little bit slower. The Spartans realize, yeah, maybe we need to build a navy, and they start looking around to build a navy. Persia, on the other hand, is getting very interested in this war. They want to keep it going forever. They want the Greeks to keep fighting each other. Sparta trying to figure out what Athens is doing next. Athens decides to attack Sicily. Why are they in Sicily? Sicily, a lot of grain over there. So think about this. If they grab the grain supply, which goes to even Sparta, they're starting to surround Sparta if you look at the map over here. So if they crush Sicily, and Syracuse in particular, they're going to start, they're going to start another war again with Sparta. They're going to start that thing up again. And it doesn't go well for the Athenians. The army gets crushed eventually outside of Syracuse. Spartans are helping out the Syracusans. They lose their fleet in the harbor there. And when they lose this campaign and most of their fleet gets destroyed, boom, the war starts up again. Because now Sparta has built a navy. How did they build a navy? Navies cost a lot of money. Sparta doesn't have any money, but Persia has money. Oh yeah, they got lots of it. How much gold you need? We'll write you a blank check. If they lose a ship, they get another one. Athens, they lose their ship, it's very hard for them to replace it. But Persian gold keeps building Spartan fleets over and over. And the Spartans are going to get better with more experience. Yeah, no one thought Sparta's going to build a fleet, did they? Why does Persia care about this? Well, it's very simple. You see, Sparta tends to hang around down in the Peloponnese. They have real no interest in going outside of there. Athens, as you can see, likes to go all over the place. And remember, if they can go 800 miles in one direction towards Sicily, what is to keep them from going 200 miles the other direction towards Persia? If we're up to Persia, they keep the war going on forever. But if Sparta wins, less chance of Sparta coming after them. Yeah, no one saw that one coming either. At the end of the day, Sparta's navy is going to win. It's supposed to be a picture of a trireme over there. Anyway, the war ends at Agaspatomi in 405 BC, and yes, during lunch. The war ends in the most Greek way possible. Instead of a big clash between two navies, nope, the Athenian rowers are sitting on the beach, lined up waiting for lunch, and the Spartan hoplites come running up the beach and over the dunes to capture them. Yep, the most Greek way ever to end a war, during lunch. Yep, no one thought it was going to, well, to be honest with you, a lot of people probably thought it would end during lunch because they are Greeks. But no one expected a 27-year war with Sparta getting money from Persia to build a fleet to defeat Athens. Nobody saw that one coming, and there was a lot of stuff in between. That was the quick and dirty version there for you. Now, let's talk about some more seafood. Yeah, but the problem is, are you eating it or is it going to eat you? Yep, Jaekelopterous. Dominate the Devonian period, 411 million years ago to 402 million years ago. Even has a Persian War, a Peloponnesian War date span there, doesn't it? Huh? Well, we know all about this guy. We found fossils of him all over the world. Every ocean, Jaekelopterous was cruising around in it. We got the fossils. They're very accurate, and this is kind of a very scary looking animal. Look at this thing. It's got pinchers, a lot of legs. And you see these things sitting out that look like wings. That's where they got the name. Wing. Right? Pterus, wing. That means it could swim in any direction. It could hover. Could even swim backwards, we think. We're not completely sure about this. We don't know about the speed because it looks like it's pretty armored, but it's got quite a reach on it, so maybe it doesn't really have to be that fast. Here's the guy we named it for, Otto Jaekel. Yep, German scientist. Look at that. He first described Jaekelopterous in 1914. Yep, just in time for the First World War. And our friend Otto, yeah, they made him a captain in the German army. When the war ended in 1918, he was in Belgium trying to excavate the skeleton of an iguanodon. Yeah, saw that coming, didn't you? Anyway, he didn't get a chance to finish because, the whole war thing, the British and American armies coming forward at him. He eventually went to work in a museum in China. But hey, here's the guy we have for the name, Jaekelopterous, and naturally, First World War. Now, Jaekelopterous has a lot of relatives. They're all creepy. They're all crawly, called Eurythrids is the name of the family there. We're talking about the big guy over here, right? This big dude here, 10 feet long. There are different species of Jaekelopterous as well, but we're talking about the big guy. He's got some relatives here. You can see him. Even though they're not quite as big, it's about the size of a human being, so it probably has no problem coming after you. So stay away from it. Should be easy to do. It's been extinct 400 million years, but you never know, man. Especially when you have chemical runoff in the water. Never know what comes back. Same body plan, different size. We're talking about Jaekelopterous here. I'm just looking at the size. This is the large estimate. We're not sure if it really got this big, right? 10 feet, but wow, just look at that. This small one looks like it could be a problem too. But ooh, look at this thing, man. Imagine we wrote Jaws and put this guy as in place of the shark. I think they made a movie about that. Wasn't that The Abyss? No, not The Abyss. Something else. I'll figure it out later. As you guessed, it's an apex predator. Yeah, it eats whatever it wants. Definitely eating fish. Look at those claws. Those are very powerful looking claws. We think it spent most of its time along the bottom, but since it's an apex predator and look at the way it's shaped and everything, it probably glided very confidently in higher along the surface if it felt like it, or all the mid levels. Nothing really going to bother this guy, right? He's the problem. No one's a problem for him. And these eyes, they're forward, so like most predators, they're looking forward, but you can see they're also slightly off to the side, so his range of vision might almost be 180 degrees. And this thing doesn't eat just fish. Like I said, eats whatever it wants. We have found, in the fossils, we found remains of shells. So obviously these pinchers are strong enough to crush the shells of any mollusks or anything it finds. If it's a clam, no chance. Probably goes after fish first, but maybe sometimes he wants to eat something else. Maybe some of his friends up there in the higher levels of the water have already grabbed the fish. Pretty competitive world there in the Devonian. And it might even go upriver sometimes. This is mostly a marine animal. We found it in areas that we know are oceans, but there's been a couple places that we found fossils of Jaekelopterous in what appear to be the mouth of a river, an estuary. If it can go into the estuary, it probably can go up the river a little bit and grab some freshwater food every now and again. And again, if you look at the head and the way this thing is shaped, yeah, it could cut through a current without much of a problem, even a river rushing into the ocean. But I'm pretty sure it spent most of its time in salt water. Alrighty, my God, what have we done? That was what a friend of mine who was a Denver Broncos said when he showed me this new uniform the Denver Broncos debuted. Oh my goodness, I can't tell if that is the Boise State Broncos or the Denver Broncos. And that orange and white thing over there looks like some kind of weird altered version of the Chicago Bears. And yeah, they got the throwback jersey there. I'm really not sure why. There's a better view of it. May our children forgive us. This looks horrible, man. I mean, I don't know who thought this was good. I mean, the orange jersey is the home jersey. We got a white jersey, blue pants on the road. All sorts of combinations, each one worse than the last. Look at this alternate uniform, one with the white helmet. I honestly, if I saw that and you didn't tell me who it was, I would have no idea what team that was. I'd figure it out because I see a Bronco on the side of the helmet, but I don't know who thought this was good. And if you have some group of people who call themselves consultants or whatever, who tell you what people want, fire them immediately. Not only fire them, bar them from the industry. I mean, it's that bad. Oh my goodness. Especially that all orange one over there. That's going to burn somebody's eyes out. And not only are the uniforms interchangeable, they're going to switch the helmets around too. That's happening. There's no good news to all of this. Please, Denver, back away from this while you still can. Let's just check out something sane like the United Football League. No crazy looking uniforms there. Well, maybe San Antonio, but after what we just saw in Denver, it doesn't bother me so much anymore. Well, week 4, we had some really good games over there. St. Louis knocked off Memphis 32-17. Another huge raucous crowd, 31,000 over there in St. Louis. Big game between DC and Birmingham. First time those guys ever played each other, and Birmingham won a close one, 20-18, still undefeated. San Antonio holds off Michigan 19-9, not the highest scoring game, but I enjoyed watching it. And I missed Houston versus Arlington, two teams that hadn't won anything. Well, Houston at least has a win now. They knocked off Arlington 17-9. This week coming up, everybody's staying in their own division. If you've been keeping score, XFL, USFL conference score, they're tied up. So San Antonio heads over to Arlington in Choctaw Stadium. And, well, Arlington's trying to get their first win, and San Antonio's in first place. This could be a trap game there for the Brahmas. Birmingham's headed over to Rice Stadium, play the Houston Roughnecks. That could be a trap game, too. Undefeated Birmingham, 1-3 Houston. Might get overconfident. Think I'll watch that, see what happens. St. Louis versus D.C. This should be a fun one over in Audi Field. Not just to see the beer snake, but I think it's going to be a pretty good game. And we got Michigan versus Memphis. That one might be pretty good, too. They're playing over in the Liberty Bowl. Memphis not having too great a year, but hey, one win, they can get me back in the middle of all this. Let's take a look at the standings where we went off screaming for the day here. Over in the USFL division, Birmingham 4-0, undefeated, man, until someone takes them down. Looks like they're headed for a championship. Michigan's 2-2, right behind them. If they beat Memphis, they can keep pace. If they lose, they start falling behind. And there's Memphis at 1-3. A quick win. They could be back in the middle of this. And hey, Houston, they might be 1-3, but they're not out of it yet. Over in the XFL conference, a lot tighter. We got St. Louis and San Antonio, both at 3-1. DC right behind them at 2-2, and Arlington 0-4 in a rearview mirror and getting further and further back. Looks like they're living in the past, and the past was 2023. It's a new league, right? Hey, you guys have yourself a fantastic weekend. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Mr. H is going to spare you a plug for his book, Heaven's Steel, today, but I'm almost done with the sequel. I'll let you know all about that next time. Have a great day, and I will see you next week. Das vidanya.